Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The World Can Wait. If you've been following us this week, then you know that we've been talking about rape culture, which is something that we feel like is a extremely necessary conversation that we don't really get to have. If you were with us on Tuesday, then you heard a lot of very, very deep and heavy conversation that was tough to listen to at times, but was also extremely important. So all through the week, we've been trying to continue that conversation. And today, I wanted to focus on something that I think that in the grand scheme of rape culture, we really, really don't think about or talk about. And that's the idea of men playing into rape culture, even when they think they're doing the exact opposite. And it was kind of wild trying to set this episode up. This was supposed to be a much larger panel than what we have right now, but I had a lot of trouble finding people that were willing to come on and talk about it because a lot of guys don't think that this exists as a whole. Just saying that rape culture is not a thing. It's not something that we should talk about or worry about. It's not real, which it taught me a few things, but most importantly, it taught me that this is definitely the talk that we need to have. Just for the sheer fact that people don't think this is a real thing. So before we get into it and do it like I always do, open us up in a little prayer and just kick it off. Thank you, God, for this time, for the ability to have conversations like this. I ask that any and everyone who will be able to hear this would take this information, learn, grow, and be better. And we pray. Amen. All right. So, Johnny, I want to thank you for being here with me today and being willing to come on and have this conversation.
Uh, no problem. I'm happy to be
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said before, what we really want to talk about is how men can play into rape culture without really realizing that we're doing it, even when we think we're doing the opposite. So, in your experience, things that you've seen, things that maybe you've even done, and you know better now, what are some ways that you feel like genuinely good guys can kind of play into this culture?
well. First, I'd like to say I think that it's a misconception that only women are affected by rape culture. Men are affected by it too. I had my own experience when I was about 10 years old, and it was pretty. It kind of messed me up for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? I have a hard time trusting women because of the incident. Um, but to say like, all right, when it comes to nice guys, and perpetuating into rape culture, I think for them it's a manipulation thing. They think that for some reason they deserve something from women because they treat them better than what they perceive other men treat them.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense, and that's kind of what I see too, as far as like you look at the situation, like okay, I'm nice to this girl while all these other dudes are treating her like crap over and over again. I'm here whenever she falls, she owes me something. Or even if you don't even like say that in your head that she owes me something, just the fact that you may get upset that she's not giving you a shot. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Yeah. And like we don't think that that's a bad thing. Like we
We
go ahead.
well we don't, but in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, that's a predatory tactic. I
Hmm.
mean, if you see somebody at their lowest and your first instinct is to help them with the goal to get something in return, you're not actually being a nice person. You're looking for something your damn self. And I just think that that's just, I think that's a predatory tactic. I don't think that's like a tactic used. That's not you genuinely being nice. That's you looking for something. That's you doing something for something in exchange.
That's a good point. So then would you even say like, and if that's a situation and you're not even really a nice guy, like at the core of it?
No.
Yeah, wow, I hadn't even thought about it like that, but that's true, and that makes a lot of sense. So
So
why do we feel like that though? Why do we feel like even if we're approaching it from like a predatory mindset, why do we feel as though kindness is deserving of a relationship or an escapade or like whatever it is?
Well, honestly, I can't say like why guys think that. I just think that when it comes to it, they're like, well, you're down. You've been treated this way and this way and this way. Now I'm gonna show you something nicer or better. You know what I'm saying? So that
Mm-hmm.
means when it comes down to it, I deserve you because I've given you something that you haven't had before, something nice. It's like not looking for a friendship. If you're doing anything out of kindness, it's not out of kindness if you're looking for something in return. It's never out of kindness if you're thinking for something in return. That means you're trying to look for an exchange. And I
Mm-hmm.
always tell, some of my guy friends that were these nice guys that I'm like if you're doing this just because you think that she should date you because you're nicer than the last guy, you should leave her alone. Because just because you're a nice guy doesn't mean that you're a guy that she wants to be with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're looking for a friendship status, that's different. But you can't go into something like this thinking that, oh, I'm gonna be good to her, so now she owes me something. Nobody
Yeah.
owes you anything.
And I feel like too that kind of like that takes away her personhood almost. Because like you
Right.
said, you're saying, if I'm just nice, that's all it takes is I'm just nice. So she should
Yeah.
be with me. It doesn't matter if she actually likes anything about my personality, anything about me. The fact I'm nice is like the one thing that's got to be checked off, and she should be good to go. So I feel like that kind of takes away from her, like as a human being. Like I can have tastes and preferences and stuff too, and you just like, nah, I'm nice. You got to stick with me.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. And that's really how they see it. And that's why I say it's being a nice guy is like a predatory tactic because it's manipulation. It's manipulation. You're catching somebody when they're at their lowest and
Mm-hmm.
trying to manipulate their feelings to liking you, knowing that they're already at their lowest and trying to take that and make it into a relationship. And those kind of relationships, even when they do work, don't last.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I've never played the nice guy, so like it's hard for me to like understand where they come from with stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. But when I talk to them, to me, every time they say something like that, it just sounds disgusting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you're really shining a light on it as far as I'm having a hard time even now saying that this is even a nice guy at this point. The word predatory keeps coming up, and now I can't shake it, which I don't think I should shake it because that's exactly what it is. Whether you think that's what you're doing or not, I can't see it being anything else.
It's manipulation. It's manipulation at its finest. It's like you gotta see it like this or like, well, you know, okay, so some things I've heard some of these guys say is, well, I did this and this and that and this for you. So why don't I get to have this and that? Huh? Why don't I do this? Why don't you do this for me? Why don't you do that for me? I've done all this stuff for you. And the whole time she thought you were just doing that as a friend to be nice and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? She thought you were just a shoulder to cry on. Whole time you were trying to take her to the bed or something.
Yeah.
And that's just
Yes.
horrible.
So you plotting from the jump. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's that's crazy. So one of our viewers asked, how do we recognize when we're doing these things? Because let's say I don't know that I'm being predatory. Let's say that I just think that I'm being nice. This is what I deserve. How do I recognize that and kind of stop myself from doing that? Is it something that I can do, or do I just need dudes around me to check me?
Well, I say that to stop yourself from doing that is first and foremost, do not force yourself on them. And by forcing yourself, I don't mean like, physically,
Yeah.
but I mean don't force you on her. Like don't first force your energy onto her energy. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing. Um Another thing would be that if it comes to the point and she's saying that, I'm not really interested in you like that. I don't really want to take this route and everything like that. Your friendship shouldn't stop right there.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? your friendship shouldn't end right there because she says she's not attracted to you. Because if your friendship's end right there, then that means, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, that's all you were looking for. You weren't looking to be a nice guy. You know what I'm saying? If you can
Yeah.
continue a friendship with her and you continue being that nice guy with her, then you had pure intentions from jump.
Mm.
But if you have to be like, yo, I can't mess with you no more because, you know, now since you don't want to be with me, I'm this whole friendship, this whole relationship is over. You weren't looking for nothing more.
Yeah.
It's your predator. It just does.
Yeah. That's the truth. Yeah. But we all learn this from somewhere. You know, I feel like this isn't something that's just like innate in all of us. You know what I'm saying? Um, but do you feel like maybe our culture, like I know we can only speak about here in America, that's where we're from, but do you feel like maybe our culture has anything to do with the fact that men can have this thought in the first place? As far as movies, TV, things like that, like does that play a role in this, or is this something that's just purely on us?
Uh, I feel like uh, I feel like movies and TV, media, social media, all kinds of forms definitely play a large part in it because uh, most of the times these guys who claim themselves they are being nice guys are comparing them to a pseudo guy that they've never met.
Hmm.
You know, they're comparing themselves to this bad boy jerk that they've never met or they've never spoke to or never even heard of. And it's just because a woman was in a bad relationship with somebody doesn't make the guy that she was in a bad relationship with ultimately terrible. But those two probably just did not click. That doesn't make him a bad guy.
Yeah.
But now, as a good guy, you're comparing yourself as a what me and my friends like to call a white knight, where you're coming in to try to save her from everything that this bad guy did to her, and you don't know him from a sack of potatoes.
That's true. Cause it's only two people in that relationship. You know what I'm saying? And so you coming from the, yeah, like you said, you coming from the outside making judgments, and you don't know what you don't know.
You have no idea. You have
Yeah.
no idea. You have no idea about their dates, their conversations, their intimacy, their love, nothing. You just know that he hurt her, so that just ultimately makes him bad. And here you come as a white knight in shining armor to save her from the villain
Mm.
that you know nothing about.
Yeah.
So I
Man.
think definitely media and all this plays a part into it because a lot of guys like to assume a lot of these not bad guys, a lot of these good guys like to assume that the guy that she left was some guy cheating on her, beating on her, uh, uh, talking to her recklessly, out of disrespecting her, all kind of stuff like that. It's just an assumption that they have no idea and no basis or no backing from.
Mm.
And if you talk to some of these nice guys, that's some of the things that's usually like the first things that they'll say, but they have no idea what the guy was actually like.
Right. Right. Man, you on here dropping gems. Because like I said, you completely shifted my whole perspective on this whole nice guy trope in the first place. Um, this doesn't sound anything like nice in the least bit, and it sounds almost premeditated now at this point, not just something I kind of fell into. This was my idea from the jump. Um, do you kind of look at the friend zone in the same light? Because you know, you let's say it's a situation where this girl is not, you know, just been broken up with by this dude, or left this guy, or he was trash, or whatever. You just been friends with this girl, or she decided that she was just friends with you, and you're trying to push your way out of that. Does that kind of fall into the same vein as this whole predatory relationship type thing?
Mm, yeah, I say no. So I don't really believe too much in the friend zone.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Um, so like the way I see it, right? When you're in a friend zone or you're, close friends with somebody, there's always there's always a chance that you may be able to date them. But if they don't want to do it, you know what I'm saying? There's there's no stopping that. You know what I'm saying? If they don't
Yeah.
want to do it, they don't want to do it. And trying to push your way out of the friend zone, I don't see it as being in that predatory mindset because you were friends with them first, and over time you grew feelings for them, and
Mm.
maybe they don't feel the same way. But the way I see the nice guy trope is they didn't come in to be friends with you. They came in to date you. The
Yeah.
friend zone, you guys were friends, and now you're trying to work your way out because like, yo, I actually got some real live feelings for you. You know, so I really love you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's different. That's you. That's you learning them. That's you spending time with them. That's you understanding them and everything on a friendship level. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, yo, I'm in love with you.
Yeah.
Somebody coming out of nowhere saying, "Oh, here, let me help you out. Let me be your friend and everything." And whole time they're just trying to be with you in the long run. I just say when it comes to stuff like that, be upfront.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But the friend zone's like, yeah, I don't think it's the same.
And that makes sense. Because you're right. If you've been friends with someone for a while, yeah, feelings are naturally gonna develop. So that does make a lot of sense. Um, so I guess kind of my last question is, what do we do about all this? Now that we've kind of got to this point where we're understanding, okay, this whole nice guy thing, you're not really a nice guy from the jump. How do
Um,
we take it upon ourselves to kind of curb that and kind of get rid of that whole idea of let me prey on this woman?
as this is something that we got to work on mostly. This is something that we got to work on in the men community. We have to, like I said, we have to police ourselves with that one because it's hard. It it's hard to it's hard to pick them out sometimes,
Yeah.
and a lot of the times those guys are like not really used to rejection or used to understanding that yo what you're doing is a predatory tactic even though you didn't put your hands on her, even though you didn't really assault her, even though you put her in a position where she felt uncomfortable, or you put her in a position where the only solution is what you wanted it to be. You have to understand that you're putting her in a position where she can only make a decision that is right with you for her to be right.
Mm,
And that is not okay. That is not okay. You cannot put people in a position where the only answer is what you want it to be for it to be a correct answer.
right. So this is
So we
something
have
that
to.
we got to check ourselves with on
Yeah.
probably on a daily, honestly, because it's so natural to do it. It seems like this is just like a part of who we are.
Mm-hmm. Because like if you have somebody in a position where you're doing it, that's manipulation, and that's
Mm,
just what it is. Like this is like a conversation I've had with my cousin a lot, and me and her talk about stuff like this all the time, and that's why I have this perspective on it. It's like if you put a woman in that position, what is different? What is so different from assaulting? If you're
mm,
putting her in a position where she can't make a decision on her own accord and it be okay, what is the difference? What is the real difference?
yeah, that's good because it's not. I mean, sure, there's like this physicality that's different from it, but as far as your actions in of themselves, you want something and you gonna make sure that you get it by
Mm-hmm.
any means. So yeah, it's not too different. Wow. Yeah. Well. Thank you so much for sharing that. And really putting a different perspective on it. Because like I said, that really takes the idea away of hey, this you're just making a mistake here. You're not really thinking about what you're doing. No, at some degree, it's premeditated. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but before I let you go, you said something at the start of the conversation that I feel like, and everything we talked about this week, we didn't really touch on it from this perspective. On Tuesday, one of our guests brought up at the end, while all of this is real, there are women that are going to lie, and they need to stop because they're making it more difficult for the women who actually have these traumatic experiences to be heard and be believed. So there is a problem on both sides, and you kind of mentioned at the beginning, men are affected by this as well. Would you mind kind of going in there just a little bit if that's okay with you?
Oh yeah, no problem. I'm at this time I'm good with it. So I say men are affected by it too, but it's something that I feel like is swept under the rug more deeply because um, and I don't know why, but women are viewed as almost helpless. And I'm not saying that I don't want to disrespect women when I say that, but women are almost viewed as helpless, and
Yeah.
men are viewed in a way that are supposed to be strong. And what happened with me when I was younger, I was about 10 years old. I was at a friend's house, and a couple of the girls that were over, they were a little older than me. They held me down. They held me down, and one of them basically initiated intercourse with me, like started riding. And
Mm-hmm.
it was against my own will. I was 10 years old. I didn't know what to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't know what to think. I was scared. And from that point on, my only real thing was to continue having intercourse with this girl whenever she wanted to, because instead of anybody telling me that it was wrong, they told me that I should have liked it. It was something that I should have enjoyed. It was something that I should have wanted.
Yeah.
But man, I was playing with Power Rangers and Beetleborgs. I didn't know nothing about no sex. I didn't.
Right.
I, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
So I say that men are affected by it too, because stuff like this happens to men, and we're just told like, "Yo, well, why didn't you like it? I would have liked it. I would have wanted to do it. I would have did." You know what I'm saying? But as a
Yeah.
10-year
Yeah.
old boy who's still interested in like Digimon and Pokemon and stuff like that, I wasn't thinking about that stuff.
Right.
It was just taken from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
And
kind of messed me up, because after I moved away from that area, I didn't I didn't have a girlfriend again for maybe 6 or 7 years, because I didn't trust. I was scared to be around women alone.
mm,
Even as strong as I was, even working out as strong as I was, as good of an athlete as I was afraid that at any given time, a group of them could hold me down and do the exact same thing again.
yeah. Damn. Wow.
I was 10
And
years old. My next relationship wasn't until I was like 16.
yeah. And you're right. The sentiment is always like, yo, that's what's up. You should enjoy that. Like, that's cool. I wish that happened to me. And I mean, man, we even see that like in school with teachers sleeping with students. You know, everyone want to adapt their kid up, but we don't know what kind of trauma it is. Like you said, it was years before you even felt comfortable around a woman like that. Like that's deep. Were you ever able to get any kind of like help or counseling or anything like that, or was it just like you just got to deal with that?
I had to deal with it.
Yeah.
I had to deal with it. I got over it through, talking to people, getting my like conversations like this, honestly. Like
Mm-hmm.
whenever I have conversations on, rape culture, rape, everything like that, I always chime in, give my positional stance. For some reason, I was always attacked. I was always attacked by women about not understanding what it's like to be in that position, and not knowing what's it like not being able to be helpless. And then I'll just say, huh, wait till you hear this story. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You believe this. But like I feel like a lot of men don't talk about it, and they should, because one thing I noticed is when I did this, I did something just as like a focus, like for my cousin that I speak to all the time. And I said, I want you to watch this. I asked a group of people over Facebook what time when they lost their virginity, and just like I predicted, most of the men were ages 13 and under.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them were ages 13 and under. And a lot of the women were somewhere in 18s, 16s, 15s, 17s. But a lot of the men were ages 13 and under. And the women that they lost their virginity to were well over 18 or above.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's like I said, something that we don't speak about. But if you were to ask a man, when did you lose your virginity? And they'll say something like, yeah, I lost it when I was 12 to my mom's friend.
Yeah.
People don't see that as sexual assault, but it is.
It absolutely is. but our whole culture is just you a man, so good job. So
Yeah,
that it never even gets treated, you know.
never.
Wow, yeah. That's definitely a conversation I think we need to have more, that we might even have on the show, because that's deep. That's deep, and it's unfortunate that you just kind of have to go through life without the support, without the love, without um anyone coming alongside to help walk through it with you, things like that, and people just giving you pats on the back for something that you're afraid of. That's yeah. Man,
That
well,
you been.
I really appreciate you sharing that and being willing to come in and give that information, because that I think that's super necessary.
It's no problem. It's something I've always wanted to shed some light on because I just don't think I think that it's something that we need to stop teaching young men that like it's okay. Like like if because I see like if there was a 36-year-old man trying to mess with a 13-year-old girl, the world would erupt once they find out.
Yeah.
But if it's a 36-year-old woman messing with a 13-year-old boy, they call her a cougar and it's sexy.
Hmm.
I don't understand.
Yeah. That's wild.
I thought we should shed light on.
Yeah. We definitely should, and I think we will more. Um. Nah, I don't think we will. We definitely will. I think we need to, because that's powerful and it needs to be talked about as well. So again, thank you. Um. Before we close out, what we do on the show is we have this thing called final thoughts. And it's where each of us takes a minute, just 60 seconds, to convey to all of our viewers one thing that you want them to take away for this entire conversation if they heard nothing else. So I'm gonna give you 60 seconds for your final thoughts.
All right. Um, just final thoughts I'd like to say to those guys that do claim to be nice guys and everything like that. If you really want to be a nice guy, just listen. A lot of the times, like that's something that everybody needs. Everybody doesn't. Nobody needs a relationship like per se. People may want it. I'm not gonna say they absolutely need it, but a lot of people just need an ear to listen. So if you really want to be somebody that's nice, or if you want to be somebody that helps somebody or give light onto the situation, give them the ear to listen. Not much else is needed. Not gifts. Not. They just need somebody to be there for them. And I promise you feel better for it. And if you do feel like you want to be with somebody, manipulation is not the way. Don't do something nice for them looking for something in return, because I promise you it's not going to end well for you. You're not going to have a good relationship with that person because you're always going to feel as if they owe you something.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden you'll go from being this white knight savior nice guy to the guys that you felt like you were saving her from.
Hmm. Man, more gems right at the end like that. That's true though. That's a wild cycle. You go right to what you were trying not to be. Um, for me, I mean, I really feel like you hit the nail on the head. The only thing I can really say is to take it upon yourself to check yourself. Um, make sure that you are where you're at, like you said, for the right reasons. Now, as men, of course, we all have to check each other to make sure that you know we do our part to stop this, but you also have responsibility for yourself. So whatever kind of relationship you're in, friendship, you want something more, whatever, check your motives. Make sure that you are not someone out here being a manipulator, because like Jade just said, you're gonna end up being a dude that you were trying to stop. So that's my final thoughts. Besides that, I just wanted to say that rape culture, we're learning it extends in both directions. Um, and I'm not gonna sit here and say, okay, well, men have it harder than women, or women have it harder than men. That's not important. But what's important is the culture expands in a lot of different directions, and it's important that we cover as many directions as we can to continue to have these conversations and to try and change our culture as a whole, so that no one has to go through these types of things. Um, So yeah, again, Jade, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate the thoughts that you put into this. Everyone out there that was viewing, thank you so much for hanging out with us for a little bit and kind of having this conversation. If you learned something, share it with somebody, because that's the only way that we grow and the only way that we change. We're going to be on again tomorrow for The World in the Meantime, which is where we just kind of go over last week, let you guys know what's going on in the next week. So make sure you're here for that. And besides that, I'm going to pray us out real quick and let you guys go. Thank you guys again for this conversation. Thank you for the knowledge that we were able to receive. I hope that everyone that heard it can take that, go forth, change themselves, and also maybe change someone around them. Let me pray. Amen. All right, y'all. Like I said, we will be here tomorrow for The World in the Meantime. Until then, you guys take it easy.